Doff your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blandford.
I'm Pat Sellers.
And I'm Sean Kelly. And we wish it was the 90s. That's right, listeners. Everyone can relax. Our podcast has returned. So here we are, our X-Men animated series, back into I am absolutely fizzing. I'm so excited. I've really, as the seasons build up steam, so has my appreciation for this media. We've got 5 episodes to get through today. The Cure, Come the Apocalypse, The Days of Future Past doubleheader, and The Final Decision. So I think we'll just jump straight into The Cure. And I did watch this one quite a while ago, but off the bat, I got to say, Cable's back, baby.
Good time.
You ready for some backstory?
Hit us.
Cable's backstory?
Yes.
Sorry, who's Cable?
The massive...
Big old guy with a belt going over his shoulder and waist.
The commander.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like the commander from Toy Soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
So as stated, I'm keen to get through these episodes relatively quickly, and you can't do that when discussing Cable's backstory. But for anyone who's curious, in the comic books, Cable is the time-traveling son of Scott Summers Cyclops and a clone of Jean Grey, who they have to... and then the clone goes AWOL, and Scott and Jean raise the baby, and then the baby gets a virus from Apocalypse. So they have to send the baby into the future so it can survive the virus. And then he comes back as a fully grown man with a great flat top and a sparkly eye. And for ages in the 90s, no one knew that they were family, even though he had the same name as the baby.
That is crazy.
Oh, it's twisted as well. At one point, Scott and Jean get sent into the future to raise him for a while under the alias Red and Slim. And then later in the 90s, when things get really convoluted, we discover that Cable's time-traveling business and fighting with Apocalypse is actually the reason why Apocalypse gives him the virus in the first place.
Sorry, are these spoilers for future animated series episodes?
Nah, it doesn't come up.
Completely irrelevant, but he had it all in his head ready to go, so it's
just a comic book thing.
Yeah, it's nuts. In fact, the Summers family tree is one of the most nuts things that exist in comics. Anyway, so look, memory's a little bit average on this one, but I've got some interesting notes. So there's some discussion about a cure. And a Dr. Gottfried Adler. I suspect Adler is a little nod to Mystique's comic book wife, Irene, although she doesn't feature. But obviously, as we find out in this episode, Mystique is posing as Adler. I suspect that's a nod. And as always, quite a lot of the characters aren't very sympathetic towards a cure. It makes sense, I guess, but also when you're sitting in the room with someone who can't touch people because of their mutant powers, perhaps a little bit of empathy wouldn't go astray. I think the only one who really shows any is maybe Professor X a little bit, and maybe Cyclops. You kind of get a shot of Cyclops almost reading the room and realizing what's going on.
Yeah, but there's no empathy coming from old mate Meg. He's just ripping straight into anyone thinking about having a cure. He's like, well, if I've got to live for centuries, you're all going to suffer as well.
And that's that storyline about Rogue considering the cure is sort of plagiarized heavily in the very average X-Men: The Last Stand film.
Yeah, like we talked about, he didn't read any of the comics to make that. He watched all of this.
Yeah, makes sense now. And then we send a team over to investigate this cure, and
we skipped over a great voice actress actually, Moira McTaggart.
I was just about to say
that's great.
the Scotswoman Moira McTaggart, who I think is in this as well, a former flame of Professor X, or at least former associates.
I was trying to figure out what they're doing, and so they wanted her to have a strong Scottish accent, but she has to speak really slowly so that the American audience could understand her. Is that what they're trying to do there? Is that what's happening with that voice?
I think that's what's happening there. I mean, that makes sense as well, because a fast Scottish accent could sometimes be indecipherable.
Is she a recurring character?
Yeah, for most of her life in the X-Men comics, she is a human sort of mutant She rolls with the she rolls with the X-Men. She does a lot of work in genetics. She's close with Professor X, and at various stages throughout comic book history, she's like had a team or worked with a team. She tends to work out of her base, which is like Muir Island, where we go in this episode.
We also missed a little bit of introduction to Warren.
Yes.
And also Cable jumping out of a bookshelf and just grabbing him by the scruff of the neck is like an intro to him. He doesn't know if Warren's a bad guy or not. He just basically assaults this guy out of nowhere inside of his home.
Is Warren the blonde hunk?
Yeah, the guy with the wings.
So I think Cable knows that Warren has been funding Adler's research into the cure, and Cable's anti-cure.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe because of timey-wimey stuff, maybe not. It's unclear. But I do love that moment when they're having their skirmish, when Warren's like, I'm Warren Worthington, the third.
You just call it a squirmish?
It's a baby.
We'll let that go. I also thought Warren's clothes probably need to be made so that he can get his wings out of them, because he seems to be in like pain when he like busts them through his snow clothes.
Yeah. Also, Warren is the worst character to have a problem with his mutant powers. The man is gorgeous and has wings. Like,
and he doesn't want to know anything about that. He's like, reverse all of this.
Yeah. Another thing that's ripped straight into The Last Stand. Yeah, so they have their little skirmish.
Which ends with his missus shooting him.
I wonder if that's his longtime lover, Candy Southern.
I really enjoyed that. She says, "No, I didn't mean to," even though she picked up the gun and pulled the trigger.
Yeah, like she had time to think. I think she was just like, oh, it wasn't a kill shot. He's going to come back. Oh, it was an accident.
Oh, it's set to stun.
Yeah, it was as well. Didn't he say something about it? His gun being set to stun?
There's lots of guns set to stun these next couple of episodes.
Yeah. Great stuff.
That's a great trope of 90s cartoons. I've just got, obviously after that we head. That's when we head back to the what I believe to be the war room. And I've got a note here: stop probing minds without permission, Professor X.
Is that when they're all doing DIY with their powers?
I love it when they do that.
Yeah, it turns out having mutant powers would be like a great way to, start a construction company.
You saw how good Colossus did in Demolition.
Yeah, but he's not. He ruffled a few feathers though.
Yeah, I just to double back on that thing you said about Meg. I've written a note here. Wolverine jerking around, talking about working with my hands. Very creepy. Jean. And then when they're discussing the cure, holy shit, Wolverine is a jerk. Doesn't he know how Rogue's powers work at all?
Isn't he standing next to her at the time?
Oh, God, he's bad.
Yeah, who?
I can't remember what Gambit does or says here, but I guess he's been sleazy to Rogue, because I've just written, geez, Gambit.
Yeah, I wrote down Gambit is so randy. He's really keen to risk it all just to get a kiss from Rogue.
Yeah, I've got lots of questions around Rogue.
Do you want to ask them now or later?
Oh, no, we'll get to it soon. But I did really enjoy this episode for Rogue. Must be incredibly lonely for her.
Yeah. So Rogue heads off. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, she goes up to the plane. She just goes
Yeah.
to chill out at 900 kilometers an hour.
Yeah. How good. I've got to say, I've got a lot of appreciation for Avalanche and Pyro.
They're great.
Do we meet them at the bar?
Yeah, at Bad Guy Bar.
Yeah, the bad guy bar that Rogue goes into.
Bad Guy Bar is the best part of this season so far. I think it's been outstanding. Makes a couple of appearances. I'm real keen to go for a drink at Bad Guy Bar. Probably don't bring the missus with you though, because Rogue didn't fare too well as soon as she went in there. She was accosted by two people straight away.
Yeah, Pyro has a red hot crack. I mean, Pat, you're our voice guy, but surely you've got something to say about Pyro's accent.
It's a little bit all over the show. Isn't he American in the comics, or is that just the movie?
It's definitely in the movie. I think he is Australian in the comics, because in quite a lot of the games he's got a thick Aussie accent.
Yeah, he's also sporting face tattoos these days in the comics.
Yeah, he's actually quite mint these days.
Yeah. His accent's not Australian in the
I think
TV
that's what
series,
they're going for.
That's what they're going for.
Kind of comes across as English, but yeah.
I've got British ? Cockney ?
Yeah,
it's
supposed
fair
to be.
Question, but
he's saying stuff like, "I haven't the foggiest. Personally, I find this frightfully confusing."
I wrote that down as well.
Good.
Surely, if he's saying that, it's got to be British.
Yeah, there's a few, because I thought they were trying to make him Australian, but they've just completely missed it. At one point, when Cable shows up, after he's running around looking for Avalanche, he goes, "Hello."
It's definitely British.
You guys are missing the Aussie part. I thought it comes up though. Doesn't he say he's Australian or something?
I think he talks about Down Under.
Yeah. There's something
He doesn't
like
say
that.
it like
And
that,
then.
All right. Well, maybe he's he did a big OE and acclimatized a little bit.
Yeah, he might have put.
I
do appreciate the fact that there are so many different nationalities / accents. That definitely prove that the mutant the population goes worldwide, not just in America.
Yeah,
that's good.
That goes back to that thing where I think we talked about in the first step with Giant Size X-Men #1, where they decided to there was only one Yank on the team, and there's you got Irish, what else you got? Russian, German, African, just
I like it.
Apache,
even Cajuns. They allowed them in there. I think this episode confirmed that Cajun is being used as some sort of slur, because Wolverine uses it super aggressively a couple of times.
Yeah, I've got a question about racism later.
Professor X, when he was doing his inappropriate mind probe, had a vision of Mystique, and then we get to see Adler in the office and transforms into Mystique. So we get that confirmation, and then we get a good look at Apocalypse, and we discover that the machine isn't a cure; it makes people slaves. And then we get a bit of Rogue flashback. We get the Cody scene. First boy she ever kissed ended up in a coma.
Seen that before already in one of the early episodes?
I think maybe the first episode.
Yeah.
So Rogue goes for the cure. Pyro and Avalanche interrupt because they are after Adler for their own stupid, villainous reasons, which I respect.
Yeah.
And then they
could have their own show. I'd watch that. Pyro and Avalanche.
Yeah.
Start every episode at the bar. Make it like Cheers, but like Pyro and Avalanche, a couple other characters.
Throw a Juggernaut in there every now and then.
Yeah.
Let's just call it the Bad Guys Bar.
Bad guy bar. Where everyone knows your name.
So they're having this conversation out on the side of the island or whatever, and that's when Pyro says that phenomenal quote about being very frightfully confused.
Yeah.
And Cable turns up to kill Adler, finds out it's Mystique. The bit goes on, and then Scott and Jean turn up, but Adler's turned back into Mystique. Cable, Scott, and Jean. That's a family reunion that they don't know about. And then after a bit of chatting, Rogue decides not to get the cure. And as she's going off, she bumps into Warren, and he's, how do you fly without wings? Which is actually probably a really fair question.
Definitely.
And that's sort of the end of the episode, but it kind of just rolls straight into Come the Apocalypse.
Well, Apocalypse appears at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And
What's your thoughts on
He's
Apocalypse?
one of the
man?
old switcheroos with the shapey shifties.
He looks badass. And sounds it too.
He looks better in this 90s cartoon than he did in the last movie that they put him in.
He looks awful in that movie.
Yeah.
Got some interesting things to say about that movie and Apocalypse. Right.
Mike, sorry, just a question about Rogue.
Yep.
So, what happens to reset her after she's received someone's powers?
So it's however long she's in contact with, the longer she has the powers for. And if she holds on for too long, they might become permanent. And you get more of how because she wasn't born with flying powers or super strength. You find out how she got that in a later episode.
Yeah, that's good that I get that explanation.
Is it also something to do with depending on how powerful the person is as well,
we see a little
even
bit of
memories and stuff like that.
We saw a bit of that with Juggernaut, right? Like she tried to take his powers, and because of his magical powers or whatever, it sort of overwhelmed her.
Yeah.
Right. Should we jump into Come the Apocalypse?
Yes.
Open with more bad guy bar.
I've already asked this question, but my first note just says, why is Warren so gutted about having awesome angel wings?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to be brought up multiple times.
And, in Bad Guy Bar, there are definitely some mutants who could probably go for a cure. It's there's that I don't know if she's old or what, but that lady who she goes and touches
old lady, is it?
Dies.
It's not the old lady.
It's not Ma Higgins again, is it?
No.
Yeah, she needs a cure.
It seemed like there are
being old.
It seemed like there are a few Morlocks there.
Yes, it did seem like that. Yeah. So basically,
how did the Morlocks get? Because this bad guy bar's still on Muir Island, right?
Which is
Island, Scotland.
Because I thought Muir Island was
what sewers have they used, or sewer international travel have they used to get to Muir Island? So they've got a sewer ship down there?
Yeah. Maybe they use the underground tunnel system that exists in the Mortal Kombat sequel that maybe we'll cover someday because it came out in the 90s.
Yeah. Good crossover.
So,
doesn't the slave come out saying that he's cured?
Warren
Worthington.
Warren walks in. The cure works. I'm free. Blah blah blah. And everyone's real stoked. And he handpicks 3 other people to go with him. I'm assuming Apocalypse has chosen those people. Then we get back to a conversation between Mystique and Apocalypse. It actually becomes quite clear that Mystique is actually scared of him, which I think is a good touch. It gives Mystique a little bit more depth than rather just being a villainous sidekick. She's obviously been coerced into this.
Yeah, there's some interesting later on, especially her and Rogue, I think, in the final decision.
Yeah, certainly. I just wrote a note here that says there are some awful looking mutants in the bar.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I'm glad that it's all in Bad Guy Bar and all that stuff, like basically Apocalypse is now recruiting members, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he would have been dynamite recruiting with the sewer mutants, like just going into the sewers, because I reckon they'd all be up for it like that. They'll be desperate for a new leader to lead them out of the sludge.
He does have a bit of beef with weakness, right? Like his whole shtick
Is that what
is
it is?
about
Yeah, okay.
Only the fit survive.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to hear Archangel. So we get the reveal that Warren is actually now Archangel, the Horseman of Death.
He looks mad.
And that's a massive thing in X-Men lore. That happens in the 80s. What happens is the Morlocks actually capture Warren, and then his wings get so badly injured that they have to be amputated, and he obviously becomes quite depressed because he's been a superhero his whole life, and Apocalypse goes to him and says, I can give you your wings back, and turns him into death. So that's not quite obviously what happens here, but it's quite cool that they've planted that into the storyline, because originally Warren's one of the first 5 X-Men.
Yeah, he seems quite important in X-Men canon, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Warren in terms of the comics is that he was actually quite boring, but he's great to draw. So he's an artist because he flies, he's got wings, he looks amazing. But they never really got his character right. And then when they did the Archangel thing to him, he has problems controlling himself, he's angry, etc., etc. It just makes him slightly more complex and interesting.
The Horsemen are all great though. Like I kind of missed where they all came from. So one of them's a Morlock, is the pestilence with the horrible voice.
Yeah. I said here, was she a Morlock?
Yeah, she was.
Pestilence girl.
I'm sure she was. And who's the guy with the
bowl cut?
Very good 90s bowl cut. Yeah.
No idea.
Sensational bowl cut.
Yeah, phenomenal. Real of its time. Yeah. That probably places this show in the 90s better than that scene with the VCR.
Yeah,
what's Apocalypse's power?
Oh, that's
whatever he needs it to be for whatever storyline they're telling.
100%.
Okay.
We get a bit more of his backstory as it goes on, but what we learn in this episode is that he can do energy blasts, he can change his size.
Yeah, he seems to be able to grow.
Yeah, and he's pretty strong, right? Like blasts don't really hurt him.
Yeah.
So we get our introduction to the 4 Horsemen. Apocalypse says, I am the instrument to purify the world. I thought that's a great quote.
Yeah.
And then
well delivered.
What I really, really like is he goes on a bit of a monologue, and he says, from the ashes of this world, I will build a better one, which is 100% in X-Men Apocalypse, the movie. Just another great steal from the cartoon.
Yeah, it's good.
I
wish they had just taken all the costumes from the cartoon as well, and maybe just the entire storyline.
And then, so we have this battle going on, right? Gambit's flirting with Rogue again.
Is Rogue there?
This is in the rec room, right? The rec room's quite cool.
Oh, yeah. And he says,
big fan of Bad
you can drain my energy anytime, Cher. Gambit has plenty. Like, jeez. So horny.
Oh, he's an absolute pest.
And then I've just written there goes the Eiffel Tower.
When is Mystique strapped down? She's strapped down by Rogue at some point?
Yeah. I didn't write it down, so I don't remember when, but that definitely happens.
I think that's
after Pestilence.
That's right at the end, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Because that's when you get that sort of glimpse into that she's actually scared of Apocalypse.
Yeah, she goes on like you don't know what he can do.
The building blows up for no reason.
Yeah. While that's going on and Rogue's talking with Mystique, the Horsemen are just wreaking havoc all over the world. And I think that adds a bit of like, this is Apocalypse is a major threat. You know, like this is your big bad. Like Magneto's a bad guy with kind of decent motives. Apocalypse is dangerous as hell. And we find out, so Rogue finds out that the base is at Stonehenge. And I don't remember how the X-Men find out, but they do as well. But Rogue gets there first. And that's when there's I think I talked about this last time, but there is just a really unfortunately drawn scene of Rogue lying on the ground in front of Apocalypse. And that's a meme you can look up online, and it says, Apocalypse has come to smash that ass. Yeah.
Pestilence is just going around the world, just killing everyone with her voice. Just that like 90s witch voice. It's outrageous. God, it really pierces the ears.
There's one point there where Meg, I didn't catch exactly what he said, but it's like, something faced runt can't take a joke. And I tell you what I've noticed a lot of after you mentioned it last time, Sean, was Storm. Storm, your master commands.
Yeah, her commands.
She really likes to, but it's mint. I like it when she does it.
Yeah, so do I. I've really grown to like it. They're at Stonehenge. Pretty sure Stonehenge does not look like the moon, and there's lots of grass at Stonehenge. They are just like, it looks like the moon's surface where they are.
Yeah. It also looks like, again, or maybe every scene does, but it kind of looks like they're close to a cliff.
Yeah, how did they get to Stonehenge?
Well, Rogue flew. The X-Men must have taken the jet. I can't remember.
I thought they was like time traveled, or not time traveled, just like
teleported. I haven't seen that technology yet. And then I've just written here, the laugh after Cyclops blasts Apocalypse is incredible. Like, you know, like just no, it's laughable to him that these guys are even trying to take him on. But after Rogue absorbs a little bit of Warren's powers and memories, it sort of snaps him out of his slavery, and they overcome the Horsemen and sort of win the day. And then Apocalypse signs off with, "You are not fit. You are not worthy. You are only delaying the inevitable." I thought that was quite mint as well.
Yeah, he's great.
I just couldn't work out, like, there's actually a scene where they have horses walking on the ground and they look fine. But for some reason, all the horses the horsemen are riding when they're flying are just like statues still and just moving across the screen. It looks fucking ridiculous. Well, the horses can move somewhat, even if they're flying. Like, yeah, it just looks...
It's odd.
Insane. And I like it.
Yeah.
They better not update that when they do new ones.
So, any other final thoughts on Come the Apocalypse?
I thought the cure was basically hate juice. It was what Apocalypse was giving them. It's like basically just made them crazy and full of hate, as I think Archangel says. And then
yeah, he does.
Rogue ends up getting a bit of his hate at the end there because she snaps him out of it, drains that part of his powers away, which also made me question her powers a little bit, because can she be that specific in what she takes? And in that case,
I feel like she just, when she's doing it, she never knows what she's going to get.
Like a box of chocolates.
Get out of here.
So on that, I just also had is Rogue a little evil now?
Maybe for a while.
Until she resets.
Yeah, whenever that is. Right, shall we delve into Comic Book Resources #1 ranked X-Men episodes on their list? Reputable website Comic Book Resources. rates The Days of Future Past double as the greatest X-Men animated series episodes.
Hold on, we have to stop for an ad in there for that. They'll be sponsoring us shortly.
So what does that website tell you? What is that about?
I think Comic Book Resources is just a...
They have resources on comics or something.
not as much as you'd think.
Oh, really?
I mean, the article I found was called "The 15 Best Episodes of X-Men: The Animated Series" by Oscar Garza.
Old Oscar, maybe we could invite him on for an episode.
He's missed out on his favourite.
I'm disappointed to know that it's only downhill from here.
I tend to disagree with Oscar a little bit, but these are two pretty phenomenal episodes.
They are good.
I mean, this opening scene in 2055, it's like this is a shit future.
Two things have not changed. Sentinels still suck, and Meg hasn't aged.
Meg's got
Meg's a little bit
grey hair.
Yeah, he looks better, if anything.
Yeah. I mean...
And why do they keep playing Western music through the future?
I've written down here that the blues Western soundtrack is mint.
Yeah, weird harmonica-related music I put.
It's not bad music, I just didn't understand the
I think it's because Bishop's supposed to be a bit of a cowboy. I mean, he wears a bandana, around, a handkerchief around his neck.
I had a question about him. How old do you reckon Bishop's meant to be?
I think technically, comic book at least, he's supposed to be born in the 90s, but that's definitely out here because he's... How old do you reckon he is?
I thought he was, probably 40, but...
I would have said 50 plus.
Yeah, I'll probably light there. Wolverine just keeps mugging him off for being real young and calling him a rookie all the time. Even when he goes back to the past when Wolverine looks younger than him, he starts calling him a rookie again. He seems to be pretty on. I really
like Wolverine's rookie gag on him.
Yeah. Is it like calling a fat guy tiny? Like it's a reversey.
Yeah. So we meet Bishop, who proves that if there's one thing the creators of this show didn't know, it's that a Lionel Richie haircut wouldn't last forever in popularity. But so he's a tracker. He works for the set to hunt down the rebels, and he's scratched 3 rebels. And then Wolverine half days says, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?" Which is a lovely bit of foreshadowing. And then we go through the grave as they're getting taken to the camp, which I guess is like a concentration camp of sorts for rebel mutants. They go past Bishop catches Wolverine and a couple other random muties. And we go past his gravestones and we got Cyclops 2032 dead, Rogue 2033 dead, Storm 2021, and then it zooms in on Jubilee 2010. I suppose that's supposed to mean something to Wolverine.
I suppose it means Storm could have died of COVID.
I do like how Bishop talks about the legendary X-Men, but doesn't recognise that he's with one. And lo and behold, they turn on Bishop. And so they have to escape. We get our first look at Nimrod, who's like a superior Sentinel, despite appearing to not be able to move his arms or legs.
Yeah, much like the flying horses.
Yeah, he just sort of hovers around.
Nimrod appears to be in severe back pain.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also liked, I caught earlier, I can't remember if it was, I'd say it was probably Meg calling the Sentinels bucket heads. I quite like that. That's a good shout out to Manawatu Rugby.
Nimrod's a big deal in the comics. Time-traveling Sentinel always running amok. And there's a mission. We don't know what it is. Bishop and Wolverine are the only ones that get away. and they get to a secret base where we meet Forge.
He's mint.
Is he Native American?
Yep.
Aye.
And Sam, you'll be glad to know that Forge's mutant power has been able to create any technology he can think of.
It's outrageous.
It is outrageous.
It's like
And
what Elon Musk thinks he is.
it is. Bishop's, you rebels have a working time portal, and Forge goes on about their theory. Us rebels have a theory that if we stop the assassination of the 90s, this time wouldn't come to be. And this is, straight out of the Days of Future Past comic book, which is also phenomenal. A few key changes: a temporal transceiver.
I thought it was a trend. He needed a transponder.
It was a transponster.
The job that Rachel thinks Chandler does in the Lightning Round episode.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes through he goes on his time travel journey. And what were you saying about it, Pat? About the time travel?
Oh, you got some pretty psychedelic visuals there. It was good stuff.
Yeah, real
Enjoyed
buzzy
that.
stuff.
It took me back to when Professor X was entering the mind of our old mate Sabretooth, who don't put that roar through every part of this episode.
Thought you were going to reference something else there.
What, in personal life? No.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, more Forge is what I was talking about.
Yeah, Forge is mint.
He's great. He's also huge.
Everyone's pretty jacked.
Yeah.
Bishop wakes up. Comes out in New York, and we get ourselves a great New York mug off because he doesn't think he's time traveled at all because of how much of a dump the place is. And he seems to be suffering from some sort of time travel amnesia.
Is that why he's talking to himself constantly?
Yeah, yes.
Basically commentating what he's doing, just in case we weren't watching the TV at the time.
I've just got here, I love a trip to visit Beast in the cells.
Oh, Beast.
Yeah, old mate.
So Rogue and Gambit visiting Beast, and get a little hint here that Gambit may have some prison-related demons.
Yeah. It's freaking him out being in that cell.
Yeah.
Alluded to his past a bit.
Yeah.
I also quite liked how, when he left, Beast just walks up to the bars, pulls them apart so he can walk through, and he walks out, which was, A, just quite funny on its own, but B, sort of shows that Beast can get out of that prison if he wanted to at any time, basically.
Yeah.
He's
determined to see his day in court for breaking into a facility.
It's just a big farce so that you can go on into politics later, isn't it?
I also enjoy when Bishop's walking down the street. Those kids are walking past with some sort of game cartridge, and it's Punisher.
Yeah.
A little Punisher cameo for us.
The game's called The Assassin.
What's Punisher?
He's a Marvel character.
Oh, that's why I don't know.
He's had a couple of movies.
Yeah. Thomas Jane plays him in a movie where John Travolta is a terrible crime villain. And then there's a real good Punisher Warzone. I forget the name of the guy who plays him, but he's so good. And it's like a B-grade gore movie. It's like people's heads exploding when they get shot. It's phenomenal.
Is that the Warzone one?
Yeah.
Thomas Jane?
Nah, that's the Warzone one. The Thomas Jane one's more mainstream.
Yeah.
Thomas Jane one's not bad.
Yeah.
I
also had a note when Nimrod shows up again. Our old mate Meg referred to him as a itty bitty soup can. I fucking lost it at that.
That's a little bit later on, though, isn't it? Because we get Bishop hijacking a bus and unable to drive it.
Yeah, it's actually way later. Prison Beast is way before that.
He gets to the mansion, drives straight into the through the front door, and they have a bit of a fight, and then they restrain him, and they're they've got him in the war room, and they're having a chat, and Professor X loves a mind probe.
Yeah, he loves a mind probe.
Deep in there, and then I love it when is it Wolverine calls him Mr. Terminator here? Great reference.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really I don't know. At one point, Jean Grey puts her hand on Meg's shoulder, and you get a good shot of Meg's face. Shit, I do not like Jean Grey and One Eye. They are not good characters. Like, I don't like them at all. I'm on Meg's side.
You're going to hate the first couple of episodes of the next season.
Because One Eye basically is like, I don't believe that Bishop's from the future. I don't believe you're from the future.
Yeah, he's so blind in his faith in the team.
He's only got one eye.
I do love when Jubilee sees, check please, time portal, give me a break.
Meg, isn't it?
Oh, is that Meg that says that?
Sounds real Meggy.
Jeez, what? I guess I just read it and thought that's something Jubilee would say.
Meg is on fire in this episode because then, like, in probably a few scenes, I think, like, he sarcastically says, "Oh yeah, I thought I felt a shift in the planet's alignment there." Like, gives a thumbs up to the camera.
And so then we get our final sort of scene. Rogue walks in, you know, she's all, what's going on here? Makes a bit of a weird pass at Bishop, I guess. And then Gambit, everyone can relax. Gambit has returned. And Bishop erupts. And it sort of, Gambit's the assassin, and it sort of rolls straight into the next episode.
Does he mention there was an assassin in the X-Men prior to that, the Gambit coming in, though, eh?
Yeah, it kind of almost sets up like it's going to be a murder mystery, and you're going to have to leave there like, there's an assassin here, I don't know who it is. And you're like, oh, it's going to be a murder mystery, and then Gambit comes in, and he's like, it's him. It's like, oh, ruined it.
Which, I mean, if you were to guess, he seems the shadiest of the X-Men.
Yeah, in many, many ways. No, old sockhead.
One eye basically is like, it couldn't be Jean.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, One Eye.
And then she says something about her dark past, which is weird because she hasn't been through her darkest stuff yet, but I guess they were sort of alluding to that in some regard, and then probably just decided they actually wanted to do the Dark Phoenix saga later.
We're still season 1 here, so they might not have thought they'd get a chance to do it.
Yeah, I quite like how Jubilee stands up for him and then throws shade at Bishop, saying, "You tattooed freak." And then Bishop goes talking about how Gambit's there. Bishop's talking about how he's a time traveler in his future. Everything's bad because Gambit does the assassination. And then Gambit replies with, "Yeah, and I'm the Queen of France." I feel like this is my appreciation of Gambit really grows from this point on.
My first note on the next episode is Gambit is a creep.
I've got Gambit creeping is constant. My first note from that episode.
I'm not denying its creepiness.
You just like it. You're there for it.
I've just got this note here. They do quite a lot of front-on close-ups of Bishop, and fuck, he's got a huge head.
Yeah.
And so we get the mind probe, right? And we see there's a great. I mean, I know you guys hate Cyclops, but there's a great shot of Cyclops and Havoc together fighting, and that's his brother. Yeah. And then so the X-Men decide we're going to the capital to stop this assassin. Obviously, Gambit has to stay here to prove his innocence, and Bishop needs to stay behind for some reason, and then Wolverine's the babysitter.
Yeah, that's real weird.
He calls Gambit Gumbo.
Yeah, he loves calling him Gumbo.
Is that racist?
What does Gumbo mean?
Gumbo's like, is it like jambalaya? It's like sausage and like chorizo.
Yeah,
it's like a spicy sausage soup almost.
And is it something that someone occasion from New Orleans would eat?
Yes.
Then it's racist.
Yeah, I thought so.
Did anyone notice Rogue flying through the hallway at the start of this episode, like really awkwardly? Like it's after old creepy fucking Hezekiah, and she's flying in, and she looks like she's almost going to fall, and she's like, "Oh!" and like just starts walking down the hall. Like, oh, that was a bit hard.
No, I didn't notice. I did notice that she flies around the mansion, which is pretty mint.
Yeah, I was like, why don't you fly everywhere? Because that was in my head at the time, and then it's like, oh, she looks real weird flying through this hallway, and then she stops and starts walking.
Interesting. Maybe she doesn't. She's confined space is harder to fly in.
Ooh, I've got it coming up now. Yeah, she's. Ooh.
So the X-Men take off, and the guys that stayed home are playing poker, and I think that's quite mint. And then things get a bit. I'm not sure if it cuts back to this or not, but Gambit does a little shady move with an exploding card and takes off.
Yeah.
And then my next note just says Blob and Pyro. Great chemistry. So let's get Blob in the villain pub.
Let's add from that first scene when you get some good Gambit quips, if you can call them good. I was actually watching part of this with Alice, and the first thing she said is that guy illiterate?
His illiteracy gets worse and worse, I reckon.
Meg keeps calling Bishop rookie. I thought he called time travelers time jockeys.
He does at some point.
I
think, yeah. These two guys come back for other random stuff.
Yeah, this isn't the last.
What does that time jockey want?
Going back to the Blob, I just called him fat guy. He calls Cyclops four eyes. Clearly, he's one eye.
Yeah, Blob's not the sharpest.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
I've just written here that I actually really start to enjoy the chemistry between Bishop and Wolverine.
Yeah, there's a lot of rookie and
old man.
Bishop called him? Oh, just old man, is it? Yeah. They look the same age. If anything, Wolverine looks younger. Makes no sense.
Meg says to Blob, "Okay, round boy, let's dance."
Round boy.
And they have that.
And she punches him in the stomach, and her hand gets stuck, and he throws her with his stomach.
That's good stuff. I just love how they sort of they win their little fight, and Wolverine has to save the kid, and then he says, "This kid's crying. Do something."
It is class, absolute class.
We also had a scene of like the protests going on, the anti-mutant ones, and like we've seen a lot of protests without much imagination in their chants in recent times, but like this is just over the top. It's just humans, yes, mutants, no. Humans, yes, mutants, no. You've all organised to come here. You could have spent 30 seconds coming up with something.
Yeah, where's the chant sheet? And I've just got, obviously we cut to Senator Kelly and and just I've written classic Mystique move.
An old switcheroo.
The old switcheroo. And then, and just as she's about to assassinate Senator Kelly in the form of Gambit, with the witness to prove it was an X-Man, Gambit comes in. Surprised to see me? I know I am.
That's good, yeah.
Real good.
And then that they have a fight, the Gambits, and then Rogue comes in, and we get the big reveal that Mystique raised Rogue. When she morphs into Rogue's adopted mother. Because basically Rogue's going to take Mystique out. I think you start to get a sense here that Rogue does actually have some feelings for Gambit and all his hard work has been paying off.
So hold on. Because I thought Mystique just... So has Mystique had something to do with Rogue in the past?
Yes.
Okay, because...
So when she turns... Oh, she's just manipulating her.
She just turns... She sees her turn from Mystique into her mum or whoever raised her. I'm like, it's clearly not your mum, Rogue. Why are you saving her?
Yeah, well, I actually thought that as well. Like, surely you'd just be like, you're not my mum. But Rogue believes her, and we...
How would she know what her mum looks like if it wasn't?
Yeah, that's the only thing, I guess.
True.
But also smell powers could have picked this up straight away, because he would have known exactly who she was shape-shifting to.
Yeah, because he smells her in one of the other episodes, and he says, something smells oily.
Yeah, the best of the powers, smell powers.
And so Gambit and Rogue save Senator Kelly, and Rogue saves Mystique. And then she sends Bishop back to the future, and we get Bishop's new future Wolverine. All we've got is his adamantium skeleton. So the mission failed. And then we have they go to check on Senator Kelly, and he's gone. And you get that I think it's quite cool how Professor X is like, this wasn't the same people because my watch has stopped. And then don't understand how Magneto's powers work when he's on the room, but the watch is magnetized to his hover chair.
The hover chair, the floaty chair, not the hover chair.
Yeah, the floaty chair.
A hover chair? Oh, right. Now I know what you're talking about.
Thoughts on Days of Future Past 1 and 2?
Just had one miss scene with the rumble outside. Somehow a kid almost gets hurt. Wolverine somehow saves this little kid, and the kid's crying, and Wolverine just goes to Jubilee, this kid's crying. Do something.
Sean mentioned that.
We definitely talked about that.
Oh.
And I had that quote written down too because it was awesome.
Mate, it was nuts.
On that, let's move to the final decision, which
the final decision.
I assumed that this related to Beast.
Yeah, but we'll get to Beast.
Oh, yeah, good call.
That's fair, yeah. But the final decision, I guess, is to not put the Mutant Registration Act in place. And so I've got more references to the Holocaust from Magneto.
Yeah, definitely.
As he's talking to Senator Kelly and he's about to kill him. And then, credit where credit's due, Master Mold has made some plastic Sentinels. And this is the smartest thing the Sentinels have done. You see, going after Magneto, and he can't obviously manipulate plastic. But I also quite like it when Magneto turns around and says, this entire ship is my weapon. And he's right. And I was a little bit gutted that he got taken down so easily. But he's in a bit.
He throws that bit of piping from the ship straight through a Sentinel. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's mint. Magneto destroying Sentinels is mint.
Mm. Robots are key because they're the only ones that they can have violent fights with.
Decapitate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mint. I think there's a big. big argument. People think that maybe Spider-Man the animated series is better, but I reckon this is better for two reasons. One, I think this tries to be a little bit more deep with its ideas, for good or ill, and also because there's so many robots running around, you get better action. Like Spider-Man doesn't even punch
smell
people.
Powers.
And smell powers.
And floaty chairs.
So Magneto's in bad shape, and then we find out that the Sentinels have turned on Trask. Master Mold is now running the cutter, and he wants to make Senator Kelly a Sentinel by replacing his brain with computer technology, and his grand scheme is to do that to all the world leaders.
I'd written a note about Master Mold is back, but is all sparkly, and then was that to sort of say like there's something different about Master Mold that's made him all sparkly? He was learning or something, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, but I appreciate his sparkle.
Master Mold needs Forge, because Forge can just invent anything.
That's fair. So the X-Men want to find out what's going on, and no, they go and so they save Magneto, right? And they take him back for medical treatment.
Yeah, they give him. They do a terrible job. His bandages look ridiculous.
To the credit though, when they find him, he's got a massive. He's bleeding. You know, like you don't see blood in cartoons.
Yeah, it's like you can see his intestines.
Yeah, he looks really bad. I'm just trying to remember why
they do Cerebro on Gambit.
Yeah, so do they do that because
what the hell is Cerebro? Is Cerebro Professor X's power, or is Cerebro the thing that they put on so that he can do his power? I don't understand what Cerebro is.
Kind of, it appears to enhance it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a magnifier.
Because it's like they've got it's like the FBI records on there by the look of it.
Minority Report.
Yeah, so Cerebro's technically just supposed to amplify Professor X's powers, but it's also just a supercomputer.
Okay.
And so when they talk about they're reading Gambit's mind because he heard something about moving the base offshore or something, right? Somewhere in his mind is where this new Sentinel base is, or something like that. And so Professor X needs to read his mind, and Gambit's like quite clearly not that keen for this because he says, "You don't go too far back, no." More hints at his shady past. And I love Magneto talking about Professor X. He says, "Your foolish dream." And then I've got a note here that says, "Shut up, Jubilee."
Yeah, she sucks.
Her powers go pretty good in this episode, though.
Yeah,
they do.
Takes down a couple of Sentinels.
And so the X-Men leave to save Kelly. To destroy the Sentinel factory. And as they're flying off, Magneto's watching, and he goes, "You're all fools, heroic fools. The brave, always the first to die."
Magneto seems to revere the X-Men almost in that moment.
Yeah, I think so. That's why
he doesn't like them, but god damn it, he respects them.
Why he's such a great villain in that regard, and it's that makes Apocalypse so different from him. And I love how the X-Men get to the base, and is it Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean, and Gambit go into the base, and the rest are doing the distraction. And I can't remember if it's Master Mold or just the Sentinel. "What is this? It appears to be the Ace of Spades." And that blows up, and it's all happening. You got like 5 minutes non-stop of the theme song here.
It was awesome.
And Magneto comes.
I think we missed Meg saying, like, having a moment with One Eye.
Oh, where was that?
He's like, "We're with you, psych."
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's when they all have. That's because they all have to decide to go, and Gambit's like, "I'm not. This is nuts. I'm not going, boys. This is a suicide mission." Everyone goes. He's like, "Oh, okay."
And at that point, Jubilee wants to go, but Meg won't let her. And she
Yeah.
thinks it's because she's young, but no, it's because you're rubbish, Jubilee.
I thought she held her own pretty well in this big fight. Yeah, that giant fight scene with just the theme song cranking non-stop, it's just on repeat. And she takes down a Sentinel with like a big firework blast, and then takes down a water tower with them.
She's definitely having her hand held though throughout the fight.
Yeah. But I feel like it's all sort of progressed to that point of, those weird training sessions obviously been working, because Sentinels are dropping like flies during that.
To
that
be
fight
fair,
session.
as soon as you encounter some Sentinels, that's pretty much your training program, right? We've got to take down robots.
Wolverine takes them down so easy. It's like one swipe on each of them.
Which makes you wonder why Morph saved his life. It probably wouldn't have killed him.
Yeah.
There's quite a cool scene as well when they're in the mines or whatever, and Wolverine pushes Gambit out because to save him, and he's going to go and take them on himself. That's fairly heroic of Wolverine. I also so Cyclops and Jean get real pashy.
Yeah.
And then we get our first. Cyclops visor has some sort of like computer abilities. Like he does some like scanning things and can see stuff. You get like a view through the visor. I don't remember that. And then, when they're all back together and the place is going to hell, and before that, I just quite like Trask saying, "I built you to stop the mutants, not humans," and Master Mold just says that is not logical. Mutants are humans. That's quite poignant.
And he says humans must be protected from themselves.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
He's great.
Anyway, and so they save Senator Kelly, and to get out of the mines, they're like trapped. Cyclops just blasts a tunnel for them to walk through, which I'd imagine that's probably not how that would work, but anyway. And we get Rogue showing concern for Gambit. That sort of, whatever that is, perhaps becoming something more. And then I've got a lot of time for Beast reading Macbeth.
But hold on. Didn't Magneto come back and help them fight?
Yeah,
at some point?
I think I said, did I not say Magneto to the rescue?
Oh, I missed that one. That was, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's cool. That is cool.
Saves Professor X's plane from blowing up.
Yeah. Xavier goes in for a full kamikaze on Master Mold.
Yeah, straight out of Independence Day. And so
you guys,
they saved the day. Yeah, Beast reading Macbeth, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. That's good stuff. And so he gets let go because Senator Kelly's okay with mutants now. I mean, he still broke into a facility and stole stuff. But, Beast is out by popular fan demand. And we get a little scene of Cyclops and Jean talking and sort of romancing or something. Does he propose?
I don't know. I'm starting to side with my mate here and think that both One Eye and Jean Grey kind of suck, and I kind of zone out when they come on screen now.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't know if it's I think it is a proposal. And then we get a real awesome cliffhanger quality sinister tease for season 2.
Watching them on the monitor. Yeah, that's right.
Loves a monitor watch.
Yeah, creepy.
Yeah.
Voyeurism.
The some of the most expensive cards from the 1995 Flair Ultra X-Men Collector's where the card's called Sinister Observations, and it would have like the character on the front looking real mint and shiny, and on the back it would have Sinister looking at them on a monitor and sort of explaining their powers and weaknesses.
That's quite good. I like it.
Right, and thus concludes season 1. So, just to wrap up on season 1, couple of questions for you both. Favorite episode, or if it's a two-parter, you can say episodes.
You go, Pat.
Favorite episode's a tough one. Probably that episode that just, I can't remember what the name of it was, but it had 1,000,001 quotes, including the famous egg-sucking piece of gutter trash. Or that one when Sabretooth is yelling at him from the hill, from the ice mountain thingy, while Wolverine floats away on Cold Vengeance. Yeah, that's it. Floats away on an iceberg. That was pretty spectacular. Yeah, that was somewhere around there, but no massive standout.
Yeah. Sammy?
For myself, I probably would go. Like I think the Days of Future Past, both are up there. I did enjoy The Cure because the Rogue backstory being fleshed out, definitely it appealed to me. But like Meg is just like, I've done a full 180 on Meg. Meg in Days of Future Past is so good.
I reckon my favourite's probably the first two, because it just sets so much up. It's like it's instantly quite mint. Although, like, I do think episodes on a probably get better, but I just really enjoy how that whole thing goes.
What one does Morph die in? 1 or 2?
1.
He's straight off the bat.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that Into Magneto's mint.
Yeah, that's real good.
Yeah, I remember at some stage in my life messaging Pat, and when I was watching this just for fun, and saying Into Magneto could be a great first X-Men movie. Like, if obviously you'd flesh it out, but just that's got all the good stuff that you need. Does anyone have a least favorite episode?
With them only being 20 minutes, I find now because if I give a bit of time between episodes that I watch, they all meld together a little bit for me.
Yeah.
I find
so
that.
how the storyline connects with every episode as well sort of helps that.
Yeah, it's not really a bad thing.
No, it's not
good.
Thing.
But I don't have a most hated episode.
No, neither. There's a couple that I like less, but I think that's just because I've seen them so many times. As stated in an earlier pod, they only had one VHS at United Video, so there's 3 or 4 episodes in here that I've seen a lot. Favorite character so far?
I think just off that last episode brought me back to who I thought was going to be my favorite off the first episodes, and I'm just stoked to have him back for season 2. It's old mate Beast. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more Beast in season 2.
Yeah, Tammy?
We all know who I don't like.
Yep.
Cyclops / One Eye and Jean Grey can take a hike. I've done a full 180 on Meg. I was not enjoying Wolverine at the start, but I'm reveling in him now. But my favourite is Rogue.
Oh, that's mint.
Ooh, yeah.
I like Rogue. I really like Magneto, eh?
Yeah, Magneto's real good. Sorry, I was just thinking of X-Men, but Magneto.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I set it up that way, I guess. If I was going to go with the X-Men, I'd probably go Rogue as well, to be honest. Quite like Storm. I quite like Cyclops, but I don't think I actually like this version of him. I just like the character of comic books.
But we're going to get introduced to a whole bunch of new characters as we go on as well.
Yeah, certainly.
Some returning ones.
Before you tell the fans what we're going to watch next, Sean.
Yes.
Or have you got more questions for us?
I was just going to ask, like, what do you hope happens in season 2, Sam? Like, Pat kind of knows, so he can't answer that. But what are you looking for? What do you want to see more of?
To be honest, I have zero expectations. I would like to see a lot less of Cyclops and Jean, but I don't think that's going to happen by the sounds of you alluded to before. I just want more backstory, basically, on lots of them, because of that's what I tend to enjoy more, I've found, in the episodes.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, you're going to get plenty more of Scott, Jean.
God, June.
Now, what I was going to say, it might be putting you on the spot because it's hard, but favorite quote so far?
My favorite quote is easily, "Everyone can relax. Gambit has returned." So what's he up to?
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this.
Yeah, you can't beat egg-sucking piece of gutter trash.
I think that's mine. That's mine too, but there were some great Meg ones. I smell gun oil. And that, honestly, this kid's crying. Do something.
Yeah.
I lost it when that happened.
Yeah, he's probably got the best quotes, I'd say.
Yeah, he really does.
He knocks them out the park.
So, where are we up to? Episode 4, start of season 2. It's a big one. We've got Till Death Do Us Part, part 1 and part 2. Whatever It Takes, Red Dawn, Repo Man, and X-Ternally Yours. I'm pretty excited because a couple of those don't really ring bells, but I get little hints. We do get a bit of Cyclops and Jean. We definitely get a bit of Meg, and
Good.
we get a little bit of Gambit backstory.
Get a bit of Canada as well.
Maybe, I don't know what. I wonder if Red Dawn might have something to do with Wolverine's past.
I'm just looking at the screenshots on Disney Plus of the episodes, and episode 5, Repo Man, featuring some Alpha Flight.
Oh, Canadian superhero mutant team. Right, well, if no one has anything else, we can wrap this thing up with our trademark sign-off that Pat never remembers.
What does it get?
You ready, Pat?
Yeah, I got it. Maybe.
Mission accomplished, buddy.
Let's go home.